Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back for more Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow. When I last left you guys, we had just finished off Legion, one of the more interesting bosses, I think, in this game. That being said, as a reward for defeating said Legion, we received a soul that will allow us to detect where time has been stopped. And I think that's altogether not terribly useful, but it is very important for one particular part of the game, so it is important to the story, but now we have it. So there is one particular area of the castle we can now access, and I'll probably be heading there pretty soon. There is one stop I would like to make first. We are actually going to be exploring another area. There is plenty more underground reservoir to get through. However, in order to explore all of it in its entirety, there is something we need to help us assist with our maneuverability, particularly in terms of vertical mobility. And in order to obtain such an ability, we need to go to this other area, so we're going to do that next. Along the way, I would like to try to pick up the Medusa Head Soul, because that will make things substantially less painful and less painstaking for me. So what I will probably end up trying to do is move back a little bit to an area where I can grab the Medusa Head, although I tell you what, there is an area in this place where we're going where there's Medusa Heads already, so maybe we'll just go that way. Let's see if we can't grab it on the way there. So we're going to go to the left here, which is an area we have not gone yet. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. It looks like Graham has stabbed Yoko or some nonsense. And I also don't quite... You see he has some kind of red aura around him, and also he just teleported away. Not really certain how he gained the ability to do that. You are not alright, you just got stabbed. How did he absorb the castle's power is what I want to know. She's just unconscious. Oh, it's Arikado here. He underestimated the amount of power that he acquired. Believe there are other things for me to do. Oh dear. Oh, Senor Arikado. Alright, well we're just gonna unfortunately leave them here for the time being. There isn't a whole lot we can do. That being said, before we get to this area, I'm gonna dive down here and see what's going on down there. I don't think there's anything super cool or anything down here, but you never know. Hey, free fish head soul. Shoots fireballs. Cool. Not quite as cool as the bone pillar in my opinion, but... Punch through all these little needles here, and we get... Oh, look, a free mind up. High mind up, in fact. I'll take it. Free stuff's always good. Another free needle soul. These fish heads, by the way, drop their soul very prolifically. I see I've already gotten 2 in the span of like 5 seconds. That being said, I wish there were other souls that were that... What's what I'm looking for here? That generous with their soul being dispensed upon killing them. So here we are in the arena. This is one of the hardest areas in the game. Simply because the enemies here are all quite difficult. And there's a lot of really nasty stuff. See, I just fought a beam skeleton and then a killer mantle. These beam skeletons, if you allow them to fire their death laser, are one of the most damaging enemies in the game. They will absolutely ruin your day if you let them hit you. So my advice is to not let them hit you for that very reason. See, we have more gargoyles here as well, and then we have this guy, the Dead Crusader, who thankfully dies in a single hit, because they're also annoying to deal with. Killer Mantle is certainly a soul we would like to farm, simply because it has a very useful tendency for some late-game enemies, and I would very much like to have that for that exact reason. We're going to pop up in here first, though. Here we have the Skull Milione. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but they poison you when they hit you, so we're going to try to avoid that. Here we have another warp room. This will let me get around a little easier. Right now, I don't think there's anywhere we particularly need to be, so we're just going to stick around here for the time being until I can grab some more stuff. Thankfully, those Skull Miliones die in only 2 hits. And we get rid of the beam skeleton before he's firing his laser. We don't need that. It's very difficult to get these guys to a point where they will be hittable, and you have to wait for them to basically swing and wind up to attack you, and then you can hit them. I don't remember what's up here. Let's go take a look real quick. I don't think it's what we need, but you never know. Nope, certainly is not. That being said, we're just going to stick around up here just in case. Oh, look at that. Killed him midair. Nice. This was an elevator at one point. You can see the destroyed little carriage here, but it is no longer functional. Ow. Mr. Gargoyle here is not very nice. What's this way? I don't remember. Oh, here we have a red Minotaur. So these guys are much, much more threatening than the regular old Minotaurs. That being said, they are a bit of a joke if you manage to grab Killer Mantle's soul, which I would very much like to do. Here's Were Tiger. A little more threatening than his brother, the Were Jaguar. Yeah, we definitely do not want to be hit by Mr. Red Minotaur here. He's a little terrifying. He also has one of the most damaging souls in the game. For our efforts, we pick up the Leviatane. Leviatane is a fire-based sword. So it's not anywhere near as good as our currently equipped Holy Sword of Awesome Sauce, but it is a really cool-looking weapon. It has the same effect as Hrunting, if you remember, just with a fire element attack on it. Leviatane, I believe, is another Norse weapon. I don't think it actually necessarily directly has anything to do with fire, but for some reason, whenever the word Leviatane is used in games like this, it's usually to do with fire. Another good example of that is in Fire Emblem Heroes, actually. One of the Muspel generals, one of the Muspel princesses is named Leviatane, and she has a sword that she can breathe in fire, and is also very cool. In fact, Levitane's one of the best units in that game, I would argue. Sadly, even though I do have her, she has a minus attack nature, so I can't make a whole heck of a lot of use out of her. A little bit annoyed at that. Let's see what's further up the chain here, quite literally. I don't remember what's in here. Looks like just a... Looks like a potion, that's it. Whatever, I'll take it. I'm probably going to need all the potions I can get in this particular area, just because it's a lot scarier than it looks. This here zone. We get this Dead Crusader again. So moving on. This area is not altogether very big, but just because of the sheer strength of the enemies in a lot of the areas where there's a lot of them, it is very threatening. This is another good example. This gladiator guy is just very precariously placed. That's the only one of those I think you get to encounter for quite some time, so if you were going to try to grab his soul, that's the only place really to do it. I don't particularly care about that one, so I'm not going to worry about it at the moment. If we can pick up Killer Mantle along the way, that would be fantastic, only because his soul is very, very good. Not quite as good as, like, Lightning Doll, per se, but it's up there in terms of... Well, it doesn't work on everybody, but the few things that it does work against, it is very, very effective. So, as I said, I would very much like to have it if I can at all make that happen. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to yet, but we'll get there. Here we have a working elevator, and there are 3 of these little side rooms. Oh, here we have something I'm not a fan of. These things hurt like trucks. It is sadly mistranslated as Lubicant, but it's actually supposed to be Rubicant with an R. And they hurt a lot, so I'm going to try to kill them as quickly as I can. And you'll notice that the scenery actually is attacking me. These statues with their hands and feet are actually swinging into the foreground and attacking me, which is why I'm jumping over them to avoid getting hit. And Rubicant here is one of the strongest normal enemies just in terms of sheer attack power, which is... it lends some... I guess... What's what we're looking for here? It gives you an idea of what its soul does to a certain extent. If you have the Rubicant soul equipped, it makes you stronger based on how much damage you've incurred. So if, for example, you have Rubicant equipped and you only have 1 hit point left, you become absurdly strong, to the point where you're like one-shotting bosses, and then you have to wind up the Wrecking Ball pendulum to break this wall down. I don't recommend walking into those spikes, because they act just like regular spikes. Here we get Olrox's suit. I think that one's pretty good. Maybe not quite as good as my Eversing, but it does make me stronger and more intelligent. But I'm going to keep Eversing for the time being. Olrox actually is another one of the denizens of Dracula's castle. He's a boss in Symphony of the Night, and also one of the more interesting bosses, I think, to fight. His area certainly has the best music in that entire game, if you ask me. It's very orchestral, very classical sounding, and I love it. The entirety of Symphony of the Night could be argued as like a classical soundtrack, basically. That's certainly what it sounds like in most respects, and it's one of my favorite soundtracks for games. But Olrox himself, sadly, not present in this particular game. We do get his suit, though. I guess that's one way to look at it, if you want to. I'm not doing so hot. I think I'm going to run back to that save room real quick, because that place darn near messed me up. Like I said, those Rubicons are not fun, and they have a tendency to just kind of swing overhead and get in your way. And they'll even fake you out. Like, they'll move one way, and then they'll swing the other, and then dive down at you. So, not very friendly people. Let's put it that way. Bye, Killer Mantle. You know what? I'm going to try one more time to see if I can get him. That's alright. I'll come back later. So we're going to go down the elevator here a little bit to the next tier, I guess. And what's in this room? Oh, this is the one I don't want to be doing right now. That being said, I need Medusa heads. So what I think I'm going to do, if it's alright with you guys, and well, you really don't have a choice because you're the one sitting here watching this, I'm actually going to pause right here and fast forward until I get Medusa head, because I really need it for the boss of this area. Without it, it's prohibitively difficult. So I'm just going to fast forward here right now, so sit tight until I grab the soul real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, well, that actually didn't take anywhere near as long as I was thinking it would. It only took me about a minute and a half or so. So, thankfully, I picked up the Medusa head soul. That's great. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be sticking around here because trying to do that particular part without being immune to petrification is darn near impossible. So you'll see what I get for my efforts. The Medusa head soul lets me stop in midair as long as I hold the button down. And what that does effectively is lets me just kind of float in the air and not move, and I can even attack while I'm doing that. That's actually going to be very helpful. So you'll see here we have the boss door, and also we have another one of these little side rooms. We're going to go to this last one. This one's not so bad, as long as you don't screw up. So what I'm going to do, you'll see all these beam skeletons on the floor. We actually are just going to avoid those completely. I'm going to stand on this little platform, and it's going to move with me. And then we have a game of, like Simon Says here, where I have to press the directional pad input that shows up on the background there. And if I goof up, the platform just kind of falls and I get hit by all these beam skeletons. So I want to avoid that as best I can. And also, if I do this wrong, then I don't get the treasure at the end, so... It's not difficult by any means, but if you don't do it, then a wall doesn't break down. So in here we have, oh, as soon as these spikes are out of the way, we get the rare ring, which is very nice. The rare ring, not only does it increase my luck further than the lucky charm already does, but it increases the appearance rate of rare items. Sadly, does not increase the rate of soul drops. That is meant, oh jeez, well, that was dumb. It does not increase the rate of soul drops, but it does make it so that gear and things from enemies is more likely. And speaking of souls, we'll grab a free beam skeleton for our efforts. I'll zap these guys because I don't want to deal with them over spikes, even though they die in 2 hits to my sword. This is probably the least threatening of the 3 little side paths here, but I don't want still don't really want to deal with them right now. And then moving on, so we have the boss here. I think I'm going to run and save real quick and get healed up before I decide to take him on. He is not a fun boss to fight, in my opinion. I guess, your mileage may vary if you think he's a fun fight. I don't really think it is, but That being said, the reward we get for beating said fight is well worth it. So, that being said, we are going to tackle that particular fight in the next episode. But I'm going to get down there real quick. And then we'll take the boss down, because that's worth it, right? A couple extra seconds of footage, I guess. Totally worth it. Alright, here we are. And that being said, we're going to take on this boss next time. So until that time, thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. We're about 2/3 of the way through the game right now, so not too much longer. That being said, we're going to kill this boss in the next episode. So until then, thank you all very much. This has been Seraphin. Stay classy, internets.